Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's live special edition of the DVC Show. I am your host, Paul Krieger, and you just get me this week. It is me. I'm pushing buttons. I'm all alone. Well, not all alone. There are 3 dogs in the room as well because they have to be absolutely everywhere that I am. But you get me talking about all things Disney Vacation Club rentals this week because there has been some news going on about some new terms and conditions that Disney Vacation Club has put out about renting DVC points, and the internet is in a tizzy. Everyone's freaking out about these rules and regulations. So we're going to sit down. We're going to have a calm conversation. We're going to talk about rentals and talk about all things renting DVC points. But just to kind of kick things off tonight, just want to hear how everyone's week's going so far. Mine was thrown for a U-turn yesterday for sure when it came to a lot of the news that Disney Vacation Club came out with. I was actually doing a room tour at Helios Grand Hotel at Epic Universe with Amy at the time. We were wrapping up that room tour because this was actually going to be the past 2 days. They were going to be kind of our Epic Universe content days, so that we could share that park with you all. Don't worry, that content is still going on. Amy is actually at Epic Universe with Gray and Mandy and our World of DVC social media team and marketing team, getting you guys a lot of great content. I did skip out on the fun, but I did rebook for later in July, so I will get to go back and experience Epic again. So don't feel too bad for me in that regard. Going through the comments real quick, though, was jealous of one right off the bat. Michael Fernandez said, Poly Tower in 4 days. I have actually not yet stayed at the Polynesian Island Tower. We went there for the grand opening. Amy was able to stay, but I had to come back home to edit videos and hang out with the dogs. But Michael, have a great time at the Island Tower. And thank you all for kind of joining us for kind of this impromptu chat related to renting DVC points. First and foremost, before we go any further into this show, I do feel it's very important to give the disclaimer. My full-time job is with DVC Rental Store. I am the member relations manager for DVC Rental Store, so I assist members in renting out their Disney Vacation Club points. Me and the amazing team, Natalie and Daniel, that work with me, we talk to members all day, every day, and we hear all kinds of stories from members, whether it be someone in the family got sick very suddenly, or maybe it's a financial hardship or something that is going on that they need to rent their DVC points for that reason or another. We assist them in that process, and that is the services that DVC Rental Store provides. So I think before we go any further, it's important for you to understand that I am very knowledgeable on this subject, but I do work for DVC Rental Store. But that doesn't necessarily negate the fact that I'm kind of an encyclopedia of DVC knowledge, and that is what I hope to share with you all tonight. So make sure you put your questions in the comments as we're kind of going through this show. I'll make sure I get to as many of them as possible over the course of the next hour. But let's break things down on a very basic level to get things started. What is renting DVC points? For those of you that are not familiar with renting DVC points or not familiar with the concept whatsoever, at DVC Rental Store, I'm going to basically use the standard analogy that we use when we're kind of explaining it to a new member or a new guest. We're the matchmaker. We are the intermediary. We are not making reservations or doing anything like that, which the internet recently has decided that is what we are in the business of doing. We are basically just an intermediary that makes the process of renting DVC points as simple as possible. Members, maybe for one reason or another, on certain years of their membership, have maybe an excess of Disney Vacation Club points, and they don't know what to do with them. And you don't want to, you've paid tens of thousands of dollars for this contract. You don't want to actually have them go to waste. And so those members come to us and say, hey, I've got 150, 200, whatever that number is. I've got some points that I need to rent out this year. We then, as the intermediary, basically play the matchmaker. We then find a guest that's looking to stay in a discounted Disney Vacation Club property. We have guests that come to us every single day. They say, hey, I really want to try out that Boardwalk Villas property. I've heard Derek DeBoer raving about it on the internet, and I just really think it would be the place for me to check out. And so they say, hey, I want to stay at the Boardwalk. I want to go these dates, this time. We take that information, and we take that member information, and we play the matchmaker. speaker. We try to marry those two people together. And that is basically the process of renting DVC points and how we facilitate it at DVC Rental Store. In its very basic form, that is what renting is. And for the history of DVC, and still to this day, as we're sitting here talking this, renting DVC points is fully allowed by all of the point of sale agreements that you sign and everything that is out there in terms of Disney Vacation. There's even, if you go on the Disney Vacation Club website right now, because I've been monitoring it like crazy, there is a frequently asked questions page. And if you could type in renting DVC points and you go to that frequently asked questions page, it says right on that page that renting DVC points is allowable. And so I think that is the first thing to kind of get out of this whole conversation, is that it is allowed. It is something that people can do. And you, maybe at some point in your membership, might be in a hardship in which you need to rent out those I saw someone put Animal Kingdom Watch, those Disney Vacation Club points. So let's talk about what happened yesterday. And I tried to do fancy overlays here with my stuff, and let's see if I can actually make it work. I click that button, I click that button. Again, bear with me. I'm alone here and pushing buttons and talking and trying to do all of that stuff at the same time. So we actually did put an article out on the DVC Fan website. If you've not read it, please, it is in the description of this video, I do believe. But head over to dvcfan.com to read that article. But we're going to kind of go through it real quick. So yesterday, all of a sudden, Disney Vacation Club introduced a new policy that could impact how members make reservations. And in its simplest form, all it was the update of literally one sentence of text in the booking process. On the final booking page, after you've selected your room and, what dates you're wanting to go and all of that kind of fun stuff, there is a little acknowledgement box that most people probably don't pay attention to, but us Encyclopedia DVC nerds, we like to pay a lot of attention to things. And this actually was updated to basically say, I agree to the Disney Vacation Club terms and conditions, and I attest to this reservation is for personal use only. In its simplest form, that is exactly what was changed. That specific little checkbox. Now, with that checkbox, there are terms and conditions. And if we actually go into those terms and conditions, that's where kind of the meat and potatoes of this change actually comes up. So let's see if I can actually navigate to that page correctly. These terms and conditions are 10 pages long. I am not going to bore you and read you through every single thing here. So we're going to fast forward actually a couple pages down here to where the actual change is. And just shout out to, Disney Vacation Club in general for whoever put together this document. It's absolutely amazing when I get to this section right here, which is the general terms and conditions and responsibility of a member. Because I don't know if you all can tell, and maybe you can't see it because of my screen, but the section that I'm about to read to you is in a different font. It is either like 11 point times New Roman, and the rest of the document is 12 times New Roman. But there is definitely a small differentiation in the font here, and it is absolutely driving me crazy. But this bullet point right here is what we're going to focus in on. You agree that any reservations made under your membership are solely for personal use and not for commercial purposes, as required by governing documents for each DVC resort, including but not limited to the Declaration of Condominium and Membership Agreement. DVC management reserves the right to interpret personal use and determine if reservations are booked for personal or commercial purposes in its sole discretion. Personal use may include enjoying the benefits of DVC membership with family or allowing use of any reserved vacation home to friends and family on occasion. Additionally, personal use means that the member does not regularly or frequently rent or sell reservations booked using their membership. This goes on to kind of include a lot of other language related to all of the terms and conditions of renting DVC points. Additionally, a small other part that they updated right here, which they did put in the proper font. I'm very glad that they did. But it also says Disney reserves the right to decline, accept, or retain any guest as a participant in its package at any time. In addition, Disney reserves the right to cancel or modify a reservation, including after the reservation has been confirmed, if the reservation includes or resulted from a mistake or error of any kind, if Disney confirms that a reservation was made for commercial purpose and not for personal use. use, or where it appears that the guest has engaged, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to bore you with additional kind of reading of that information. But in a nutshell, it's basically saying you can use this for personal use, and you should not be using it as a commercial business. And that's the crux of the issue that this actually boils down to. And if we go back to the blog, I kind of mentioned this here. We knew that Disney Vacation Club was looking into this late last year. The December 2024 Condominium Association meeting actually had essentially, they always have a little bit of a Q&A portion for each condo association meeting. And at that time, Shannon Skatsky, the vice president of member experience and club management, stated that they were reviewing owners who seemed to own large numbers of points just to make a profit. DVC is actively figuring out ways to go after that and stop that to the best of our ability. The updated checkbox is exactly what they are doing with this. They essentially are trying to crack down on those large scale commercial renters. And to define who these people are, all you have to do is kind of go on Facebook and search DVC rentals in the groups section. And you will find a plethora of Facebook groups in which people have made it their daily job to post anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30 reservations that they have available that they have booked for sale, for rent. And these are exactly what you think. I know a lot of you in the comments have already kind of said stuff. It's like the Animal Kingdom value accommodations, or it's hard to get holiday reservations. All of those types of reservations, these groups are flooded with these type of rentals. And that is what Disney Vacation Club is looking to crack down on here. They are really going after these commercial renters, these large-scale people that actually are doing this as a commercial business, which goes completely against the guidelines and the intent of the Disney Vacation Club program in general. So, I feel like I've talked for like an hour now, so I'm actually going to go through some of these questions and try to get to that, because that's really what I want to do today, is really just engage with you all and try to answer any questions you have. This is very new, so as we're kind of going through this, I just want you all to keep in mind that this is in its infancy. We know a very little amount of information at this point in time. In a lot of the forums, in a lot of the online discussion groups, a lot of the chatter right now is, what does enforcement look like related to this? We don't know the answer to that question yet because we've not actually seen it. However, there has been the question posed multiple times of, what happens in these situations, or if it's a DVC rental store guest, what happens if their reservation gets canceled? First and foremost, from a DVC rental store standpoint, again, me in an official capacity at DVC rental store, the one thing that you should know is that these people do not make up our membership. We actually have a lot of systems in place to very, very closely monitor how many points someone's renting, how many reservations someone's renting, and we engage in conversations with people so that they understand the rules and regulations regarding renting DVC points, because we do not want to put a guest at risk. Remember, we are an intermediary. We represent both sides. It's kind of like a real estate agent when it's kind of a real estate transaction and that person is representing both sides of the equation. You have to be very impartial, but you also have to protect the interests of both sides of people. The other thing is, this process in general is not a new process. If you've been following Disney Vacation Club long enough, you will have heard of stories from time to time of reservations being canceled for one reason or another. And it does happen very frequently. I do see it happen from time to time in which perhaps a member's not paid their annual dues. Disney Vacation Club has the right and on occasion does cancel reservations for that reason. Perhaps they've not paid their loan if they have a mortgage loan on their Disney Vacation Club, so they actually financed that property and that purchase of Disney Vacation Club. You don't pay your loan, you don't get to keep your Disney Vacation Club, and on some occasions, those reservations go away. But the sole purpose of what we're talking about, they have enforced before as well. The question of what is commercial renting considered. And we've seen instances in which commercial renting has been enforced and that they have canceled reservations for that reason. From a DVC rental store standpoint, we look at each individual case on its own merit, and we want to make sure first and foremost that we make sure that we take care of the guest and that their vacation is protected. So we want to make sure that we work with that guest, we understand the member situation, and we come to a mutual resolution in those situations. So there is a lot of fear out there right now relating to renting DVC points on both sides, whether it be guests and members. But I think the big thing is we all kind of have to exhale and kind of say at the end of the day, nothing's really changed at this point, because I don't think any of you really read that checkbox to begin with in the first place. And also, it really doesn't change kind of how the day-to-day process of a lot of rentals go on. You're still allowed to rent your DVC points. If you have some points that you're looking to rent out on occasion and you don't follow any frequent patterns or anything like that, that's going to be okay. They aren't looking at the mom and pops that are renting a couple hundred points a year here. They're looking at the people that are renting thousands upon thousands of points and potentially tens upon tens of or hundreds of reservations every single year. So something to keep in mind. I'm going to go back in the comments here a little bit and kind of just chat through kind of what I've seen come through the chat so far. And then hopefully I'll try to catch up here and see what's going on and what you all are chatting about. Elaine said, give a thumbs up for Matchmaker Paul. Hey, I'd love a thumbs up. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. It does so much for our DVC fan YouTube channel. And it just kind of bumps this video up so more people can maybe calm down about all of this rental stuff going on, because it's really not all that bad. And it's actually kind of calmed down today overall. We were all kind of amped up. I was up till like 1 a.m. last night, but that's just me. But I just like to know kind of what the community's thinking and everything that people are talking about. Let's see. Carissa said, I saw quite a few posts of people celebrating that DVC might crack down on renting. I guess I'm ignorant, but why are people upset about others renting out their points? Carissa, I think that it's really, people are upset about the fact that there are these people that are doing this for commercial purposes. And there's a question as to how much is this impacting DVC availability? Because that's what it really boils down to. And you know, I've sat in some of these condo association meetings before, and that's really the complaint of a lot of owners is, you know, I can't even get into my home resort in the 11-month window, right when the 11-month window opens. You know, the room category I'm looking for just immediately goes away. And so there's been a lot of, comments related to that. And then that same person then gets in one of these Facebook groups and they see that same reservation that they were wanting for $1 bajillion in one of these groups. And they're like, that just doesn't pass the sniff test. It kind of just pisses you off, for lack of a better term. So I think that's really what they're trying to attack here. Now, what they've not gone after, and I was curious by this choice, walking a Disney Vacation Club reservation. We are not going to go into the weeds tonight and talk about what walking a reservation is. We've done that on different shows. You can go back and watch those. But walking a Disney Vacation Club reservation, that is actually where a lot of the problems with availability come up. Now, you could argue that, you know, these commercial renters that are out there, these people doing it for a business, they are the ones that are actually walking those reservations. I could hear that argument. But it remains to be seen how this impacts DVC availability long term. It's going to be a while for us to really kind of be able to assess, does this open up availability for members? Does this successfully kind of crack down on providing more opportunities for members just looking to book their own personal vacations to do so? At the end of the day, my gut does say it is not going to change things for rooms and reservations at places like Value Studios at Animal Kingdom Jambo House, or the Kilimanjaro Club at Jambo House, or hard to get reservations over holiday seasons. Those are always going to be competitive to get, whether or not you're booking at your home resort or whether or not you're booking in that 7-month window. So I don't think that, any of that is really going to change. But, you know, I even said this in the blog points, or in the blog post, and we'll go back to that real quick, regarding renting DVC points. But I basically said, this is a positive move towards protecting the membership for those who want to use it responsibly. If you rent a few points occasionally, you're still within your rights. That is deemed personal use. If you've turned your membership into a for-profit business, then you may want to rethink your strategy, because Disney Vacation Club is now paying attention, and it does look like they have plans to kind of crack down on this in the near future. So that's kind of the general impression of where we view things there. So Husker Paul said renting was allowed by Wyndham at Bonnet Creek until it wasn't allowed during certain times. Wyndham's a great example in this argument. Wyndham actually cracked down on rentals maybe a few years back, I believe it was, and did a very similar process to what is happening now with Disney Vacation Club, and the member base really kind of supported them for the most part. Of course, there were commercial renters and some people that kind of got a little angry over the process. There were some lawsuits involved, but a lot of members actually ended up not winning those lawsuits from kind of the little bit of research that I've done on the topic. But Wyndham is kind of a great example in this. And I'm guessing that, maybe Disney Vacation Club is using kind of that same playbook that Wyndham used related to that as well. Let's see what else we've got in here. Oh, Derek's in the chat. He says, "Hey now, thanks for doing this, Paul. You're the bestest. As long as I can still rent points to stay at Bay Lake Tower, I'm good." Derek, I've got a room for you at Bay Lake Tower tomorrow night, actually. Headed over there to get content of a 2-bedroom. So, if you want to come over, we can have a couple beers, we can hang out. It's a theme park view. We can watch the fireworks. I'm just saying, just something to tell you. Debbie asked, do you have to check the box for the reservation to go through? Yes, nothing has changed regarding that process. You have always had to check that acknowledgement box when you are making a reservation online. And so you do have to check that acknowledgement box when you make a reservation now, because you are agreeing to the global terms and conditions of renting DVC points by doing so. I do kind of look at the language that Disney Vacation Club uses a little bit fear-mongering, I would say. The intent is there, which is to crack down on commercial renting. But, personally, the verbiage choice is a little bit kind of like, yeah, I feel like we could have done that a little bit better, because I do think, again, a lot of people are like, oh, what does this mean? Is this fearful? What is personal use? What is that like? What is defined as personal use? And, when you kind of dig into the documents a little bit more related to your membership, you do realize that they do outline that renting is allowed, and it is an allowable event, and it always will be. Even, we just talked about Wyndham moments ago. Renting Wyndham points is still allowed. There's still a process for that. But again, they crack down on these commercial enterprises and these large scale LLCs and individuals that were kind of renting DVC points. And I'm all for that. I think that's the betterment of the membership. And again, as I kind of gave the disclaimer for earlier, DVC Rental Store, we deal mostly with mom and pop, people that are looking to rent out their Disney Vacation Club points. I spoke to a lady, earlier today, a grandson that they were going to take on a Disney Vacation Club trip, got sick and was in the hospital, and they weren't able to go on their trip this year. And they actually desperately do need that money to pay for medical bills. And so, being able to provide that service is very good. And I believe that, I would hope that most people view it that way, is that you don't know when you're going to be in that hardship. You don't know when you're going to be in that position in which you have to, maybe not use this membership that you were going to pay for. And so I think it's something to just, think about in the back of your mind, and realize that, we've all been there. We've all been in that position every once in a while. And, it's a service overall. So, let me see. Cameron, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Cameron, for your support. Cameron said, "I much prefer using DVC Rental Store to claim rental requests. Then I don't have to call into member services to change the name of a primary person on a reservation, which is not allowed all online." Very true. Cameron, thank you so much for your support again. We play a lot of, there's some rental businesses that have actually gone into the business of telling people to book confirmed reservations reservations. And they, again, got almost kind of part of the problem a little bit, where it's like, hey, go book this, I always go back to the Animal Kingdom value accommodation because it's the one people always complain about. But it's like, go book this or walk this for this many weeks so that you can get this week-long reservation, because then we'll be able to sell that for you. It's like, that's such a pain. And it's not like being the matchmaker between a guest, like having this list, like Cameron said, of guest requests, where it's like, these are the requests that we have. If you have points available and you can book one of these requests, fulfill this for the guest, and that is going to be the easiest way to rent your points. So I agree with what Cameron said in that regard. Talking about changing the name primary person on a reservation, that is something that we're monitoring too with this. So yesterday there was kind of some mixed communication regarding kind of changing a name on a reservation or changing the lead guest on a reservation, because again, kind of going back to examples here, there are people that maybe last minute can't go on a vacation or can't go on a trip. And in those instances, selling that existing reservation is probably the only way to rent their points. Maybe their points are expiring at the end of the month. Maybe the points, are in holding already. So they are what I would call a distressed point in some way, shape, or form. So it's actually a service to both sides. For guests, it's the best way to kind of get into a DVC accommodation last minute. And for members, it's the only way in certain circumstances where you can offload that reservation, because DVC availability is mostly gone within those windows also. So kind of that traditional matchmaking is not possible. But if you do that lead guest change that Cameron mentioned in his comment, there were member services agents, whether they're on the phone or on the chat, they are kind of asking a question of, what is this reservation for? And again, the only answer to that question that you have to give is, it is for personal use. If you are using it within the guidelines, which is personal use, which personal use is defined as renting DVC points, as long as you're not doing it very frequently, or if you're not doing it as a commercial entity, then it's perfectly acceptable. And so that's the traditional answer that you have to give in those circumstances. But to Cameron's point, it does kind of cause, it's more of a pain of a process. So I'm going to kind of go down here a little bit and kind of catch up with some of the comments a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, Jeff Haslam's in the chat. Hi, Jeff. Happy birthday to Amy. Everybody in the chat say happy birthday, Amy Templeton, Jeff's girlfriend. You guys have met Amy on multiple occasions. Jeff and Amy do their date night videos. If you've not seen them on the DVC Fan YouTube channel, you should definitely go check them out, because they are some great videos. The most recent one, I think they went to Hollywood Brown Derby. Just look for the thumbnail that has the Hollywood Brown Derby hat and Amy's pretty face. So happy birthday, Amy. I hope that Jeff is not spending the whole evening in our chat of this show, and I hope they're doing something fun tonight. But Jeff said, whether the room is occupied by the owner or the renter, points are points. That is very true. Points are points. So that is a perfectly acceptable comment there. So, but make sure you say happy. Oh yeah. Look at all those happy birthdays. Perfect. That is awesome. Let's see. If I rented points through DVC rentals for booking a cruise, and I want to rent the booking I have for Labor Day plus points that will load this year, will I get flagged? Just want to pay for the cruise. Disney has been very vague on purpose for like what they're defining as commercial renting. So at the end of the day, there is a level of risk that I think all of us as members have to take. But again, someone that is renting out a couple hundred points a year, I don't think they're going after you. I don't think that's what they're attacking. Someone that's maybe trying to, use some of their points to help pay for their annual dues, and they rent a little bit every single year. Again, I don't think that's part of this crackdown. I think that the intent here is to go after the people that break certain thresholds. There's been a lot of speculation online. Again, what are those thresholds? Historically speaking, Disney Vacation Club has gotten more and more vague about outlining where those thresholds lie. It used to be 20 reservations in a revolving calendar year. It also included, having 2,000 points on a membership. all of those things were kind of things that were outlined in governing documents at one point in time. But then I believe it was starting with Riviera Resort, they kind of got more and more vague in what is considered commercial renting activity. So at this point, there's really no clear definition of what they've defined that as. And in most of the documents that you read, they basically state that it is solely up to them to consider what is commercial renting activity. But again, the general impression here is that they are not looking into the people that are renting a couple hundred points per year. So I think the example you gave of kind of renting some points to help pay for your cruise and rent out like one confirmed reservation this year, that's going to be perfectly fine. I don't personally see an issue with that, but again, we're kind of in the infancy of these changes. So, a lot of this is, we are literally 24, maybe 30, less than 30 hours. We're like 24 to 28 hours of this change being live on the Disney Vacation Club site. So, kind of fully not knowing what's going on. Steven said, I have a confirmed rental reservation for next year with DVC Rental Store. Do I need to worry about Disney canceling my trip? Steven, my understanding with this rollout, so the updated terms and agreements are dated as of June 1st, 2025. So I think the intent here is for Disney Vacation Club to start tracking this and start kind of being able to have concrete evidence of some of these large scale commercial renters being exactly that. And I think potentially they will be looking at, maybe enforcing that on reservations moving forward. From a DVC rental store perspective, as I mentioned earlier in this show, again, we very closely monitor our members. We know exactly how many points a member has rented with us, and we know how many reservations that a member has rented with us. And I have had personal conversations with members over the years in which I'm basically telling them, you need to be cognizant of these rules related to commercial renting. And there's certain instances where we've chosen to actually restrict someone because we believe that maybe they're getting close to a threshold. And again, we don't want to put guest reservations at risk in any way, shape, or form. So internally at the rental store, that is something that we are just going to put even closer eyes on moving forward so that we protect you, our guests. But again, if anything were to ever happen to your reservation, that's going to be a conversation where we have that with you and we kind of make sure that you are well taken care of and that you still get to go on your planned vacation. So I think that's very important to kind of look at. Oh, I got to get through more happy birthdays. They're just still coming in. All that kind of fun stuff. Let's see. Let's see what we got in terms of comments. I'm getting hungry. Are any of you kind of eating anything good for dinner? Because I don't know what I'm going to eat after this show's done. So this is what you get. You get Rambling Paul for part of this show as I'm kind of reading through comments and clicking on them. Not necessarily DVC rental related, but Laserboy said, I own 100 points at Riviera. If I buy 50 more points, will I receive the full DVC benefits? All of those points would have to be direct points. So you would have to have 100 direct points, and then you would have to buy the additional 50 direct points, and then you would have direct benefits as part of that. But kind of going back through, I'm going to go back up a little ways and kind of see if I missed any other kind of questions. There's super chat. Oh, hi, wife. I love you. Amy's at Epic Universe right now. I don't know why she's not riding something because I think it should be, the wait times have been a little bit high there today. So she's probably just standing in a wait time listening to me, or in a line kind of listening to me talk for a while and kind of ramble. So Matthew said direct sales doesn't like it when you mention renting when you're purchasing a direct contract. By the way, this is kind of a conflicting thing. When actually you're purchasing a direct contract, a salesperson is a salesperson at the end of the day. And sometimes they might actually bring up, you could buy twice as many points and rent out half of them to pay your dues every year. But then you sign the governing documents and, that kind of negates anything that sales agent said. So it's kind of interesting to kind of watch the sales tactics of, direct sales guides and everything, but also then the enforcement of what's happening here now. The Lorik said, how will this renting crackdown affect the third-party vendors? DVC Rental Store is a third-party vendor. Again, we are a third-party intermediary to the transaction. And right now, we have no plans to really change anything other than, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to just keep a close eye on this situation as it's evolving because we do want to protect the best interests of our members and our guests. So it's part of my job to stay on top of this kind of stuff and make sure that we are kind of advising people correctly and just protecting things. But I really don't think it's going to affect us too much because, again, I believe that we provide a valuable service to a lot of members who otherwise would just have points die and would not be able to use them. And they desperately do need this income, whether it's an illness, whether it's financial hardship, whatever that situation might be. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Amy just ordered purple pizza. I was thinking about pizza for dinner. I'll be honest, there's some French bread, Red Baron pizza in the freezer that I might end up going with. So, Kim said, do you think these kind of owners will start selling off their points? Too early to tell, Kim. I think that the general opinion of a lot of this is that you've put up some good words, and that's something to kind of pay attention to. But at this point in time, it's a question of when does Disney actually take enforcement on these things? When do we hear? When does that first Facebook post come, or Disboard's post come, in which we see kind of Disney Vacation Club acting on this commercial policy? That's going to be kind of when we actually know what's happening to more of a degree. And with that information, do some of these commercial renting people start to sell their contracts? It's possible. But again, I think we're kind of too early in this. And I do think, it's taken some time for them to get to this point. So I do think it's going to even take some time to kind of get them to come up with, those actual enforcement activities as well. So continue to put your questions in the comments, and I will try to answer a couple more here. Don't want to spend too much time on here tonight. I think we've kind of gotten the big points across when it comes to this. Again, these changes, while startling, and they've kind of shook up the world, and I will say that a lot of the clickbait news sites have really run with some headlines and some titles that really don't do what's happening here too much justice. But, I do think I think right now it's all, everyone just take a deep breath, whether you're a guest or a member, and just kind of realize that, truthfully, at the end of the day, this is why you use an intermediary to kind of protect you in these events. Because I do think that if I were a guest in a private rental community, I would be a lot more scared in this environment because I truthfully just don't know that, someone's been paying attention to that person that rented me their reservation or rented out their points to me. So I think that's kind of very important to pay attention to. I also kind of wanted to just do a quick run by. So at DVC Rental Store, we did put out a press release earlier today over on our DVC Rental Store blog. So you can actually go over and read that as well. And again, just as I've already said on this show, basically reassuring members and guests that DVC Rental Store remains the safest and secure and compliant way to rent DVC points, especially for members looking to occasionally rent out their unused points. As we've already stated in this show multiple times, Disney's updated guidelines specifically are targeting reservations made on behalf of others. Are clearly designed to address large-scale commercial renting activity, but they do not intend to penalize thousands of members who rent their points responsibly or the guests that get to enjoy a deluxe Disney resort. Tony Adrania, the president of DVC Rental Store, my boss, said our model has always prioritized the safety and protection of our members and guests. DVC Rental Store was built for members who want to responsibly and occasionally rent out their points, not for those operating large-scale businesses. We remain fully aligned with Disney's intent and are fully committed to keeping the rental process safe, simple, and stress-free for everyone involved. He does go on to say later in the article, we've always taken pride in doing things the right way. As the vacation landscape evolves, we'll continue to innovate and adapt to best serve our community while respecting Disney's policies and values. So, round of applause, everybody, and thumbs up from my boss, the president of DVC Rental Store, Tony Adronia. He's probably listening to this, just saying, stop saying my name, please stop saying my name. But the chat has gotten away from me at this point because everyone's asking what's Amy getting on her pizza. So I feel like most of you are like, I'm over the rental topic. Let's talk pizza. What's Amy getting on her pizza? We have been talking about doing kind of like a Red Baron live pizza night where we would hope that you, all of our lovely audience members, purchase a Red Baron pizza that night and cook it in the oven and then join us for kind of a pizza party where we just kind of chat random stuff. I don't even think we should chat Disney Vacation Club that night. I think we should just chat pizza, what's going on in your lives, random questions that you might have for us or other members of the team, and maybe all kind of share all of our Red Baron pizzas. So, because truth be told, Jeff Haslam has tried more varieties of Red Baron pizza than anyone else. Amy is a diehard to the Mexican pizza. So that is the standard, which is always in our fridge. And it's actually rare that I actually bought the French bread recently. So we've not tried too many. The $1 million question, Gray, who is our social media manager for World of DVC and Keyholder Vacations. Again, why are you guys in this chat? You're at Epic Universe right now, and you guys are chatting with us. Looks like Amy went with the roasted garlic ricotta pancetta on a purple ube crust. That sounds like Amy. Except the pancetta. That kind of surprises me. Maybe that's the pizza that Gray got. So, let's see. Any other questions kind of related to the rental stuff? Let's see. Cameron, how has the overall flow of points been through the DVC Rental Store? Up, down, steady? I would say that it's been very steady this year. Truth be told, this year's really surprised me in terms of just the overall travel landscape, because with everything kind of that we're up against in 2025, where things that are financially driven hit people's pockets first is discretionary spending. And that kind of impacts, buying things at the store that maybe they don't need, or taking a vacation. And so I've personally been surprised in seeing kind of just kind of that steady nature of things this year so far in terms of everything. Joe said, we were thinking of renting points via your company to stay at Vero Beach. What, if anything, will change? Joe, nothing is really changing in terms of how we do our operations at this point in time. So again, on the back end, we're paying a little bit more closer attention to just what Disney Vacation Club is saying, and we're paying a little bit more closer attention to our members just to make sure that they're in compliance, and more so that they're educated on Disney's policies so that they understand the risk in terms of commercial renting versus personal renting. But again, nothing really impacting us on the DVC Rental Store side of things right now. So I 100% agree with this. Hey, Tony, due to his undying dedication and hard work, Paul needs a promotion. Yes, let's bump that. Hit the like button for that one. I love it. Lisa said, thank you, Paul, for this live chat on renting points. I've considered renting points, but get nervous. Lisa, one of the big things I always tell people, if you are nervous about renting points, or if you have questions about renting points, please reach out to the DVC Rental Store. If you go onto the website, you can actually send us an email. You can call our team and chat through renting points. Also on the member side of our business, actually with the help of Gray, who's in the chat, we've put together a great member onboarding series that really kind of talks through multiple layers of renting DVC points, every step of the process. There's videos to go along with every step of the process to make it a very smooth and simple process. And we are actively working on a guest onboarding series as well that kind of outlines that perspective from a guest standpoint also, so that you can feel comfortable if it's your first time as a guest and you're thinking about, hey, I really want to save that money, stay in a deluxe property, but I'm just not too sure kind of all of the nuts and bolts that are involved with doing so. So that is actually rolling out here within the next couple weeks. We have that scheduled and ready to go. So, Michael, no apologies needed. I fully expect when my wife mentions pizza or a sandwich for chat to just fully take over and kind of go down that rabbit hole. Brian, do we know if Island Tower will be part of the same association? No, it's still, your guess is as good as mine, but I did hear that Bay Lake Tower is joining that association. So, you absolutely never know. Someone's going to send me an email about that. Why did I even joke about it? I have no idea. Let's see. Fernando, my family was hoping to rent a 2-bedroom at Boardwalk for this Christmas. Could Disney theoretically cancel the reservation? I mean, if we're talking theoretically, Disney could technically do a lot of things to that reservation if they wanted to. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a binding rental agreement in place between you as a guest and the member who rented points with you. That is going to protect you. Again, one of the many reasons to use an intermediary in these transactions to kind of protect those things, those what ifs, those unknowns. So keep that in mind. Sorry, I learned early on in life. Anyone like this? Please put it in the chat that you are as well. I can't read and talk too well at the same time sometimes, and I also can't type and talk at all. If I will be here at my desk working on something or writing a blog, and Amy will be having a conversation with me, and I'm fully processing everything that she's saying, and I'm actually answering in my head, but no words are coming out of my mouth because I'm typing and doing something else. So yeah, one of Paul's many flaws. But Catherine said, thanks for holding this live show. Good to be in the know. Catherine, thanks for joining us for the live show. Thank you so much. Yes, wife, I will pick you up later from Epic Universe. I will be there. We have several hours to go. I think the park closes at 9, so I will be out front at 9:30 and ready to drive you home and hear about your amazing Epic day. And hope you got lots of good video footage, because all of these people watching this show are going to want to hear about Epic Universe and the day that you had. Matthew said, thank you, Paul, for having this live video and calming everyone down. Thank you again, Matthew, for kind of joining us. Again, I think it's all of us just kind of needed this exhale after everything. And truthfully, by this afternoon, I think that's where most people were. Like, a lot of the online chatter kind of calmed down for the most part. Obviously, anyone that has maybe been doing this on a commercial level, yeah, they're a little bit shaken up and kind of questioning what their next move is going to be at this point in time. But, the general majority of membership, this doesn't really change anything for you. And hopefully in the long run provides you with more opportunities, like I said earlier, to kind of allow you to allow you to book the accommodations that you're looking for at that 11-month window. So there you go. Michael said, was there no Monday video this week because of this live show? There was a Monday video. Michael, you're a day behind. There was a video that went up on YouTube yesterday. It was about we all took turns saying what we would do if we were the next CEO of the Walt Disney Company. And that was a very, very fun video to film. And we're going to have a part 2 coming up very soon as well, because we could have talked about that topic for way, way longer than we did. So part 2 coming soon, because one, some of our things are already outdated because we filmed that show before the Abu Dhabi park was announced. And so that was kind of funny to have that announced a couple of days after we filmed that show. But yeah, so go back and watch it, Michael. It's up there. So, The Lorax said, yes, an epic video would be awesome. Amy has good tips. We've got 3 epic videos planned so far. We've got a Helios Grand Hotel room tour that we did. We have a Flora, which is I always forget the Flora Taverna, I believe, is the full title of the sit-down dining restaurant downstairs in Helios. We have a dining review of that coming up. We actually ate there last night. Newsflash, spoiler alert, one of my favorite resort dining experiences in the Orlando area right now. Up there with like Narcoossee's, up there with, I can't even see up there with Topolino's, because Topolino's has actually gone down a little bit in my opinion. So Narcoossee's, Citrico's, Gico, Flying Fish, it's on that level of a restaurant. So be sure to keep an eye out for that as well. Let's see. Christy said, thank you for the clarity. I was planning on renting out my points for the first time, and the announcement made me feel that it would be difficult. Again, yeah, I think this is all just kind of like, let's just calm down and kind of exhale and kind of go on from here and see what happens. But yeah, we've been talking for over 50 minutes already, and I know you guys have better things to do on a Tuesday night than kind of listen to me ramble. So again, if you're just joining us, we did kind of chat through a lot of the recent announcements related to renting DVC points, how they're going to affect you as an owner, how they're maybe going to affect you as a guest if you're someone considering renting DVC points. But as always, here on DVC Fan, we're going to come to you with any breaking news that is happening in the Disney Vacation Club sphere, and we're going to try to break it down as best we can. I know that you could do a lot more deeper dive analysis than what we've covered in this show, but really our goal is to make sure that every single person can kind of understand what we're talking about and kind of digest the information properly. So we do break it down on a little bit of a smaller scale level, but you can guarantee behind the scenes, we're kind of reading all of the comments, reading all the chatter, and making sure that we advise as best as possible. So I will encourage you all to, put any other comments or questions that you might have in the comments of the video. We'll try to get to some of those as well. And this is an evolving situation, so we'll kind of continue to monitor it in the coming days and weeks and see if anything else comes of this. But I think for the every average day member, again, for me, when this first came out, I was happy to hear about it, because at the end of the day, those commercial enterprises, those large-scale commercial renters, those needed to stop. That's not the intent of Disney Vacation Club. The intent of Disney Vacation Club is the ability for families to come back to Disney World year after year, and the ability to stay in a deluxe level accommodation when you're going on those trips for a fraction of the price as it is paying those cash rates. And so that's why I became a Disney Vacation Club member, because we were staying in moderate level accommodations, and now I can say that I can stay at the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, the Boardwalk. Coming up next week, actually, in about 10 days, a week from Friday, we will be checking into Grand Californian out in Disneyland, and we are going to be experiencing the Disneyland 70th. We're going to be checking out the Grand Californian refurb, which I already kind of know where that's going to go, but yeah, we're going to bring that information to you as well. So last and not least, please hit that thumbs up button on this video. And if you've been chatting along with us, thank you for subscribing to the DVC Fan YouTube channel. If you're watching this after the fact and you've enjoyed me rambling about DVC rentals and the occasional pizza or sandwich, then please like and subscribe, because we do have some more fun videos that come out all of the time. But you can guarantee when it's something that, most of the Disney Vacation Club community is questioning, we are going to be out here and we are going to be telling you and breaking it down for you and helping you understand it. So I hope this video was helpful tonight. Thank you guys for joining us for this special, thank you for joining me. No, us, because let's see, who's here? No, they're all in their beds. So they're all on the floor. We've got, I'll pick up the camera. We've got Hermes, which is the cow-looking Galgo over here. We have Emerson in his new bed that we just got a new cover for this. Emerson just celebrated his 8th birthday the other day, so happy birthday to Emerson. And then back in the corner back there, you guys are all going to get like whiplash from that is Cinders. Well, you can't really see him all that well, but that is Cinders. He just celebrated his 8th birthday as well also. So on behalf of me and 3 Galgos, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you for a regular episode of the DVC Show next Monday.